And what that means is, as a manager, as a boss, you need to be thinking a little bit more logically than the people that you are managing, because without that, you lose kind of sight of where you're trying to go. So I'm going to go through a couple questions from some of my interns in general. Probably do this little thing. The question is, managing people, respecting lines between work and personal. Okay. So one of the biggest things that I learned from spending a tremendous amount of money on educating myself on business practices and scaling practices is the employee engagement model. This is going to be useful for anyone that you're managing. The employee engagement model goes like this. First of all, every single day that work is happening, there is a daily meeting at a cadence. Everyone is expected to be at that daily meeting and made sure that basically all the updates for what's going to be happening with that group of people go through on that, observations of the day yesterday, and then goals for the day today. Very, very important for making sure that there is a cohesive force, a culture of trying to move forward as a team. The other part of the employee engagement model is this concept of a PPF, personal, professional, financial goals. Directly from Cardone Ventures. I am not copywriting or anything. This is the stuff that I've learned that's super, super useful. The personal, professional, and financial goals of every single person that works in an organization are just as important as the goals of the organization. The reason is that if people are not valuing their personal development in their own lives outside of work, there's a very good chance that they're not going to value the goals of the organization or the people that are managing them. The PPF goes something like this: personal, professional, financial goals. Each of those has 4 categories. So 1 year out, a plan for 1 year out, a plan for 2 years out, a plan for 3 years out, plan for 5 years out, and a plan for 10 years out. Personal, professional, and financial. What I usually do when I onboard people in my organization is the day that they get past their week-long working interview, I give them this PPF. I give them 3 months to fill this thing out. The day that 90-day ticker hits, they have access to a one-on-one with me for 45 minutes every other week. This one-on-one is to go over their personal, professional, and financial goals to make sure that I am coaching them in the things that I know that will allow them to get those goals accomplished. Now, most of the time, if people are not making progress, what I've realized in their personal, professional, financial goals, they're probably not really making all that much progress in the company either. It tends to be directly correlated. It's like what Jim Rohn says, is the things that you do at home are actually more important than the things that you do at work. Super, super important. In terms of respecting the line between work and personal, the way that I handle this is, first and foremost, I want to know generally what's going on in people's personal lives. If I'm managing someone and they are looking for a house, I want to know that. If I'm managing someone and they're looking for another career, or in a certain time period, they might very well be in another career, I want to know that because I want to plan accordingly. If someone's having issues at home with perhaps domestic disputes, or their parents aren't doing well, or there's something going on that's going to fluctuate their personal life, I know that that's going to impact their professional life. So those are things that I want to know. I also, ideally, through the one-on-ones and through just communication in the daily, I want to know what motivates people and what they really enjoy doing. That is essentially a personal thing, but so important for managers to know, because you don't want to put people into roles or into situations that they don't actually enjoy doing, because they're not going to flourish in those roles. And they're not going to feel like it's something that is what their calling is. The emotional reason why people are in your organization, or why people are willing to be managed by you, is super, super important, because that's what builds trust, right? Progress moves at the speed of trust, and trust is built over time. As I have explored the leadership qualities of people that I respect, many of them understand that it's so, so important to know what personally motivates each individual and what each individual is actually performing on the job, the specific duties that they're performing and how they feel about that, whether or not they feel it's efficient, whether or not there are things that can be worked out that will make it better for the whole. It tends to make the daily meetings a lot better because the people in there are going to be people that you know, that their personal goals or things that they're going through. There is an inspiration component to the daily meetings that I try to build in to make sure that I am trying my very hardest as a leader to propel people, to get them to show up to work and be excited about working. Super, super important to realize that in any workplace scenario, you cannot simply approach it as, okay, we're working and we only have a professional relationship. There needs to be a level of personal to understand the motivations, the emotional motivations of each of the people in it. It's just when you start going out and having drinks individually with people or with the group, that's where things get a little messed up as a manager. When you start going to their houses, family parties, when you start inviting them to your house, that's when the personal stuff starts to get a little complicated. Don't do that. In terms of forging relationships, like significant other relationships with people that you're working with or people that you're working alongside with, there's always that quote that comes to mind is don't shit where you eat. Don't shit where you make money. And the reason is because I'm telling you from personal experience, from dental school, from other jobs, from life in general, that even though you believe that spending time with that person is absolutely incredible, you need to understand that above everything else comes your profession, the work that you're doing. That is your livelihood. In the worst case scenario, the money that we are making is going to determine the opportunities that we have. So if we allow emotions to get deeply embedded into our workspace in terms of love emotions or personal connections, we're going to be put off track and we're going to not think of things as logically. Brandon Dawson from Cardone Ventures has a phenomenal quote. It's high emotions equal low intelligence. High emotions equal low intelligence. And what that means is, as a manager, as a boss, you need to be thinking a little bit more logically than the people that you are managing, because without that, you lose kind of sight of where you're trying to go. And when the people around you don't have a clear vision of where to go, they are not going to be nearly as motivated to go and hit that task. The weight of bringing opportunities to teammates, right? So how do you understand the weight of bringing opportunities to teammates? Well, as a leader, it is our first and foremost responsibility to be logical, but it's also super, super important to constantly be looking for things that can engage our team, but also that can build them up as people, resources that will necessarily make them more useful in the work that they're doing. Now, what that means is if you're buying a masterclass for yourself, I would give access to anyone that's interested in that subject material. If you're going to a conference or a meeting, I would invite anyone on the team that is going to benefit from that to come with you to actually experience that thing. When it comes to new technologies to integrate into the workplace and things that you have control over, right? Bringing that to the workplace and actually creating a system that's step by step on how to utilize that new technology, super, super important. So when it comes down to bringing opportunities to teammates, as a leader, as a manager, it's your responsibility. It's something that you should be thinking about always, 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 and hopefully it comes from a sense of trying to build opportunities for yourself and for your business that you're working in or the team that you're working in. Knowing when to pivot and make changes. Most of the time in my life that changes have had to have happened is when I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. When I see something happen twice, I almost always tell myself that it's going to happen again. When I see something that is making me feel emotionally distraught and taking me away from the logic of where I'm trying to go, I know that that's something that I should really be watching and making sure that I can eliminate as much as possible. So making changes and pivoting in life really only has happened in my life efficiently when things just hit the fan and I know that if I don't change this, I'm going to end up hitting myself in the face again and again and again. It really is a sense of intuition, and intuition comes from putting things in the right boxes. If we don't see patterns in our life, in our teams, in the way that we think, we will never be able to deduce how to augment and pivot our life. We need to be able to put things in the right boxes, and we need to be able to see patterns clearly. That's one of the beautiful things about being a human being. We have that innately built into us. And frankly, most animals and most creatures in general also have that built in, but we just have the ability to then contextualize it and understand it. So hopefully you found this useful. This is some questions from my network, the Turabify Network. Interns, every single month we have a meeting in a webinar or in person, and these are the questions that I compile there. If you have questions about life that you believe that I might be useful for, go ahead and post them below and I'll make sure to hit them. Take care, actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you.